Okay, so a little lower than the angels. Don't pick your nose, don't scratch, don't yawn, don't fidget, don't go to sleep. It was so simple, however hard Izzy tried to make it sound so difficult with all her don'ts. Perhaps she did not realise how easy it was to sit perfectly still while you studied the faces one by one of the people in the audience, imagining their names, learned all the words of the speaking players, and then, best of all, played the wishing game. He saved up the wishing game till last, and then he let his imagination loose. One day the players would drive through countryside that looked dimly familiar. They would set up stage among buildings. He felt somehow he knew. The audience would gather, one particular yeoman turning aside out of curiosity to see these strange outsiders everyone was talking about. The yeoman's wife would tussle for a good place to sit down on a stool. The chatter would die away, the music would start, then seeing the hinged clouds fold down to reveal God and all his angels, the wife would look once and look again, and stand up and point and clutter her apron to her mouth. And the people round would tug at her and shout, "Sit down, missus!" But she would refuse and say, "But it's Gabriel, it's my Gabriel. Father, look up yonder, it's our Gabriel, and he's an angel." He would not wave when his mother spotted him. He would just smile and dip his head a little, and she would have to wait until the very end to be reunited with him. They would see how still he could sit up. Why shouldn't it happen? More extraordinary things happen. Once ago, each new day had lain in wait to ambush Gabriel. He had woken up cringing. Now he was fed and clothed, sitting still, and crowds looked at him and sighed. Ah, there was nothing to be afraid of, except perhaps Lucy. No one who looked ever so evil could be quite safe. But Garvey had a big, round, jolly face. Gabriel could shelter in God's good grace. Such a weight of worry and terror, and contempt had been lifted off his shoulders that he sometimes thought, when the end music started up beneath the wagon and the audience began to toss like a field of corn, that he could spread his arms if he wanted and soar off his ledge, above their heads and round the church tower, as free as a bird. By the time he reached the bottom of the ladder, he was almost laughing out loud with happiness. "What's so funny?" said Lucifer's daughter, whose job it was to foot the ladder. "Do you never want to be one of those players, Izzy?" said Gabriel. She shot him a glance which made him sorry for asking. "Me? Haven't I got enough to do without learning words?" "But I don't say any words," exclaimed Gabriel. "And you're so clever. You do all kinds of things." For a moment the scowl lifted entirely off Izzy's face, and she looked suddenly very pretty and much younger. She breathed in to say something, but her father came round the corner of the stage. "She's a girl, though, isn't she, Gabriel? You don't have girl players. I mean, I've made her look as much as a boy as I can, so she can play her pipe, but there's a limit to how much you can cheat the public. People wouldn't stand for it. Come with me, boy." The scowl settled back on Izzy's forehead. She bustled away again, harassed and busy. Lucy slothed his snakeskin and padded into the church, building alongside this particular stage with Gabriel's wrist in one hand. Such a long, bony hand. Gabriel shivered at the grip in the cold air inside the church. But when he looked back over his shoulder for help, Garvey had too descended his ladder and was following them into the nave. It would be all right if God was there. "Can you sing, boy?" said Lucy. "Sing, sir? In church?" Was it a temptation? Was Lucy tempting him to see if he would sin like the King David in the Bible, who danced and sang in church? Gabriel looked at Garvey for his advice. Garvey only nodded and said, "Go on, son, sing." "Sing, sir? Like the monks?" "However you like. Just sing." So Gabriel sang the first song that came into his head loudly. I'm not going to sing it. "Summer is coming in, loudly sing cuckoo, growth seed and bloweth mead, and the spring and the woods are new. Sing cuckoo, sing cuckoo." "Holy Jesus and Mary, he's terrible," said Garvey. Gabriel suddenly remembered the words of the second verse and breathed in and began it, but Garvey clapped a hand over his mouth. "Never mind, boy, you do a grand job of sitting still." He looked so disparagingly at Lucy, who shrugged and said, "Just an idea." But when they went back outside, Izzy had almost finished packing away the props, as it was one of her jobs.